It's Dr. Glenn, your WordPress security fanatic. Let's talk about my maintenance services. And I think by maintenance services, most providers simply think about updating your plugins, running an automated scan, and hoping for the best. Well, I think my services are a lot more comprehensive than most. I'd like to explain a few of the things that I do, not an exhaustive list. I'll try to be quick, but first of all, for an entire year, I do go to your site and check every day for updates. And if there are updates that need to be done, I do them, of course. That is the fundamental backbone of maintenance services, but it goes beyond that, actually. I do the scans for viruses and malware. And I think that a lot of providers will just choose a scan and stick with it. But I do more than that. For example, if you watch my YouTube videos or you have taken one of my security classes or something, you know that I'm a huge fan of WordFence. So WordFence is a great firewall and a great scanner that does, in fact, do a good job of finding obfuscated code. And it also is one of the vulnerability checkers, which is nice. However, it doesn't do everything. For example, it doesn't check the blacklists. So I do Securi scans for that. Securi is not good at finding viruses and malware, in my opinion, but it's great at checking the blacklists every day. So I do both. And I also have two other scanners that I run. One of them is from the National Repository of Known Vulnerabilities, and that particular one gives some false positives sometimes, but if it's a real issue, I notify my clients. And speaking of notifying my clients, I do supply reports by email every week. It tells you what I've done for your website, what was updated, what changes were made, and some of the metrics that I track as part of my maintenance services for you. And speaking of metrics, I do install a third-party tool that monitors the uptime of your website. Checks every 5 minutes all day long, every day. It checks to make sure your website is still up. If it's down or it's getting an error message, like your website might be up, but it might be giving like a 500 error or something, anything like that happens, my phone goes off and I am on it. So if your website's down because of a misconfiguration issue or something that I can easily fix, I'll go in there and I'll fix it for you as part of the service. If it's something else, I'll notify you if the website's been down for a little while, so you're not losing money. Your reputation isn't going bad while you're off sleeping for the night or something like that. I also monitor the SSL certificate. So I check your SSL certificate. My system polls the certificate twice a day, and it looks to see how many days are left. So if you get within a couple of few days of it expiring, I want to know about it. Most SSLs today are provided free by hosts, and they're extended month by month. And it relies on the host database being up and hooks running properly, no misconfiguration issues, no Cloudflare overlay, or CDN in the way. All of these things can cause problems, and you don't get a second chance to make a first impression with customers. So you certainly don't want customers coming to your site seeing an SSL warning like this site isn't safe. We just don't put up with that. I do monitor that as part of the maintenance service. I keep up on it. So if your SSL is about to expire or there's something wrong, I'm going to know about it. And I am kind of a fanatic about these things. I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to try to fix it so that you don't lose your reputation or any business as a result of that. Also, we all know that Google's search engine, which is the big one on the block, right? That's the one everybody cares about. They provide more organic search traffic for websites that have SSL and websites that are quick, that are running more quickly. And so I do a lot to try to make sure your website's running fast and is sleek and streamlined. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But the internet standard right now is a service called Lighthouse. It's a third party that is branded by lots of different names. And basically, though, it gives the metrics that Google uses to establish your website, whether it is accessible, how fast it responds, how much render blocking, and things like that. You might have be aware of this already if you go to like Webmaster Tools and those types of things. In any event, as part of the report, my system will just go ahead and poll that service to check your website speeds on a regular basis. And I do include some of those metrics in your report. But more importantly, if your website suddenly slows down and it's just not moving, or it's giving timeout errors or database connection errors and things like that, I'm going to know about it. And so generally, I'll reach out and tell you that something's changed on your website. Your user experience has changed, and Google's reporting, will follow. So we don't want that to happen either. Now, of course, the backbone of your website is your domain name. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the domain name. I do have a monitor that checks it every day. It's on the same timer that the other one's on, so it actually pulls just like your SSL. It checks it twice a day. What I do is I have a database that tells me all of my clients' domains and when they're going to expire. And if you get within a couple of days of expiration and there's an issue, I'm going to reach out to you so that your domain name doesn't expire, your website doesn't get put in like a weird status that affects your reputation. And so I know how easy it is to get these emails from the registrar that say your domain is up for renewal, and to always think I'll do that tomorrow or whatever, and then it gets lost. I'm just one more safeguard in the way because I'm watching and I'm paying attention to make sure that that is always taken care of. So you don't lose your domain name. That's the worst thing that could happen. But of course, we don't want your website to be down for even a day, not even for a couple of hours. Now let's talk about the general maintenance for posts and other things on your website. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that everything in your WordPress is basically in your database. All the tags and categories and posts, pages, all of the information, the metadata for all of your images and so forth, it's all stored in the database. And so what happens is each time a visitor comes to your website, the database is polled for certain information. And the larger your database is, and the more load that your database is carrying, the slower the database is. And when you get bloated and you have this big mess of a database, you get database errors, you get misconfigurations, and things like that can creep up, but you also just get slower speeds. And that doesn't do anybody any good because everybody wants their customers to experience fast speeds on the database. And let me tell you some of the basic things that I do every single day for my clients to help reduce those problems. The first thing has to do with comments. Now, a lot of people will have somebody designated in their organization to handle comments that come in on their website. They push the trash button and it goes into the trash, but it's still in the database. It's still sitting there. As a matter of fact, if you don't dump that trash once in a while, it can affect the speeds of your website. So what I do is I do go and I check the comments. I check the pending comments. If something just looks like it doesn't belong, I'll go ahead and remove it right out of the pending for you. You don't even have to think about it. But if your team has thrown it in the trash, I'll go ahead and make sure that the trash is emptied on a regular basis. That way, that the website just works that much better and is that much cleaner on the interface side of things. Not to mention the fact that some comments have pingbacks and erroneous URLs. Sometimes they have offensive language that can affect your search engine rankings and the like. No, we don't want any of that going on. So it is something that I definitely take care of. While I'm thinking about that, posts cause a lot of bloat in your WordPress. So every time that you're working on a post, the website typically does autosave. So it's saving all these little drafts of your work. And then you go ahead and you post the work. Now, you also have other drafts that you create yourself. When you look at the post, you think, oh, maybe I want that image to be a little smaller. Maybe I want to embolden some text or switch something out. Next thing you know, you may have 30, 40 different drafts. It's easy to do. It sounds like a lot, but it's normal. We see it all the time. When you want your web page to be nice, you create a lot of drafts along the way until you get it just right. Well, each one of those drafts is a database issue. Each one of the drafts that you don't use is one more piece of the puzzle in your database. It's bloat. Makes your database huge and does not do anything good for your speeds, I'll tell you that. So I go in and I look for the drafts that are old and unnecessary, and I go ahead and I get rid of them, except for the last 5. If you're making a post and I see there's 100 drafts in the database taking up a bunch of space and slowing down your website, I'll delete those for you, but I also will save the last 5 because maybe you want to go back to what you did yesterday or the last couple, but rarely is it the case that you go back to a draft from, a couple of months ago. And just understand that that is part of the service that I provide. So don't let it come as a shock to you if I've pruned back your old posts and the like in the drafts, the auto drafts. I get rid of those. It can take hundreds of megabytes of space out of your database, and it can significantly improve the speeds that you're getting simply by managing that kind of maintenance, getting rid of old posts and drafts of posts. I mean, I don't delete anything that's live, of course, and or all those old spam comments and stuff. Anything that you can do to shrink your database will make your website faster and more responsive. And you want it to be snappy and zippy for your clients and for your SEO rankings, so you can make more money. There are different hooks in the WordPress that are important to know about, like categories and tags. So you probably know what those are already, but did you know that if you have a lot of categories that don't have any associated content, that still creates a routine that WordPress has to manage? As a matter of fact, with tags also, you can have empty tags that don't have any content attached, and WordPress still has to process that. Every time somebody comes to the page, it has to deal with that as though it's a real thing, despite the fact that there's no content associated with it. So when I come in to do maintenance on your site, if I see tags and categories that are orphaned, they don't have any content that belongs to them at all, I'll just go ahead and remove those for you because it keeps your website nice and clean and working quickly. Now, with regard to WordPress databases, I know that a lot of people will manually go and put their website in maintenance mode and then go to the native repair database uh, tool that comes with WordPress. And there's a sort of a routine you go through in order to get that active. And then they'll run that to sort of optimize their database on a regular basis. Is that optimization? It's table correction, which is a kind of optimization, but you can do more than that. You can also optimize by making sure the database updates to the latest configurations with the save measures and adds compression and so forth. And so anything that makes the database more streamlined. Well, I go ahead and I do that. I go ahead and I do the database optimization every time that I come to your site and run maintenance. So it's an important function to help speed up your website and make sure everything's working quickly and effectively for you. And as I wrap up this video, I want you to know that I don't just rely on automated systems to go and scan your site. I go there and I look. And nothing really takes the place of that. Sometimes I'll just, take a couple seconds, test to make sure your forms are working. If there's something quick and easy that I see that's an issue, I'll fix it for you. I mean, I really have a passion for serving customers and taking care of them and doing a good job. Now, of course, I don't do a bunch of development work for free or anything, but in terms of maintenance and update and security, I do all of that. And it goes beyond just updating your plugins and the like. If you hire a developer that uploads a hacked piece of software or something, it happens. It's not your fault. If that happens and your website suddenly gets infected and you're under the maintenance plan, I come and I fix it for free. I clean everything up. I do it with a glad heart. I try to explain to you what happened so that it doesn't happen again, and we move forward. And so, it's peace of mind. It's not just maintenance, but it's also insurance against events that happen that would normally cost you hundreds of dollars to fix. I'll come in and I'll do everything I can to make sure that you're taken care of, because it's my job to take care of you, and I only have one standard of service. My father always said, perfect is good enough. And that was the standard of service he had in his business. And that's what I strive to achieve in mine. I just want it to be right the first time, uncompromisingly right, with attention to detail, no corners skipped, no good enough. Just get in there and make sure everything's done. I could go on and on about all the little things that I do. That just invites people to copy my content and repeat it. So in general terms, those are the basics. And I do plenty of other odds and ends to assist in making sure that you're treated well and taken care of and that your website's done. And the fee is very reasonable. So I think that's kind of one of the earmarks for my success in this. If you have any questions or comments, reach out. If you have been hacked, reach out. I am here to help. Until the next time, you take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'm always here if you need me. Thanks. Bye-bye.